Sushi Tech Tokyo 2026. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is making the best out of today. And welcome to the 5th session right here on this Impact stage. Our next session is titled, Make the Invisible Threat Visible, the Reality of Cyber Defense and Public-Private Collaboration from a Global Perspective. So it's time to face the biggest threat of the 21st century, I guess. Let's all hear it from our wonderful speakers. We will have on stage Kana Shinoda, President, Blue Incorporated. Eva Chen, Chief Executive Officer and Co-founder, Trend Micro Incorporated. And Noboru Nakatani, Executive Officer, Chief Security Officer, NEC, President, United Cyber Force Incorporated. Thank you very much for coming. Please take your seats. The moderator will be Ms. Shinoda, so I will hand over the microphone to you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, just sunny day outside, and thank you for coming over this session. My name is Kana Shinoda, and I'll be moderating this session. Let me briefly introduce myself. I'm a founder of CodeBlue, an international cybersecurity conference in Tokyo. And I'm also involved in international initiatives like ICC, GCC, like youth, human development stuff. So today, we'll look at cybersecurity, not just as a technical issue, but as a business and a societal decision. We're joined by 2 leaders in cybersecurity today. We are honored to have them over here. To start, could each of you briefly introduce yourself and share a moment when you thought, is this really happening? Okay, so who wants to first? You want to do first?
Lady
Okay.
first? Sorry. Hi, I'm Eva Chen. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Chen Micro. Chen Micro is a cybersecurity company that already exists for 38 years. So I sit in the middle because of my seniority. Actually, I've been joking with Jensen Huang. 2 of us of NVIDIA, 2 of us are the longest standing founder and CEO in IT industry that still working. And I enjoy really doing this cybersecurity. I think in our generation, we see this IT technology from PC to local area network to internet to cloud and now onto AI era. This generation of changes is really exciting and challenge for security also. So welcome, and we think we can all share this exciting moment of getting into the new AI era.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session. I'm Noboru Nakatani. I'm Chief Security Officer of NEC. Although it's mentioned like this, I spent most of my career in law enforcement. I joined the National Police Agency in 1993, and then serving Interpol in total, actually 11 years. Actually, I served the government for 26 years. So out of 26 years, 11 years in Interpol as Assistant Director of the High-Tech Crime and the Director of Information Technology, and then Executive Director in charge of cybercrime. So that forms my opinions and the perspective on things. Yeah.
May I? The first time I saw Nakatani-san is on Lyon in France, and when he was with Interpol. And it was so interesting because first I saw him, he has a handbag, and I was like, is that a gun inside? And you will say, don't move.
Yes.
And he told me that nowadays it's BlackBerry inside, and when we say don't move, there's only computer in there.
Yeah, I said to her, it's back to 2012. So she came to my office in Lyon. So we talked about it, and then I said at that time, actually, it's an Interpol agent with guns only available in Hollywood movies. The real Interpol agent at the time possessed the BlackBerry, now it's iPhone. So actually, instead of chasing criminal in the physical world, actually we chase, or the Interpol chase the criminal in cyberspace by using as IT technology. So it's Interpol plays a role of the law enforcement to Google. That is what Interpol is doing right now as well. So actually, yeah, interesting time, by the way, yes. Yeah.
Well, what a wonderful introduction of the session.
Yeah.
I like that, spontaneous
Yeah.
opinion. I like that, yeah. So let's move to a global perspective, first of all. Eva, from what you see across the world, which threats are growing the fastest across industries and countries today? And where should companies focus first?
Okay, I think this is quite a big question. You know, what is the trend right now? If you look at cyber criminal, there's two things that you need to look at. One is what is their motive, and the second is what their technique they are using. Talking about motive, the first one is still the same. They want to make money. So the first one, they still use ransomware a lot. That's the trend. However, there's a little change. They don't just encrypt your hard drive so they can stop you and get the ransom. Nowadays, because encryption usually can be stopped by like EDR, new generation of EDR. So they change to, they steal your information and they have the evidence, but then they threaten. It's like blackmailing, right? They threaten the company and say, I'm going to reveal all your secret, pay me otherwise. Okay, so that's the first trend. The second trend globally, I must say APT, and is stay-on APT, especially because Trend Micro has a lot of business in Europe. We're seeing the NATO countries with Russian hackers. That has been because of Ukraine. So that is a big trend that we're seeing happening a lot there. Then talking about technique. Technique, we cannot avoid by saying all of them are using AI to accelerate perfectiveness of how they attack, right? So that's the new AI. They happen in deepfake, in phishing email, how they targeting. That's all happening. And the second one is they still use a lot of the old, we call vulnerability that hasn't been patched. That's all existing, and they are using the supply chain. So for instance, recently the team PCP, that was a hacker group's name, they were using the light LLM gateway as the way that they can attack, because there's 3.4 million downloads per day for that light gateway. And that's how they were using those as the vehicle. So those are the trend of the current we see, the global attack.
Thank you so much, Eva, sharing your perspectives. Thank you. So let's bring in the law enforcement perspective, Nakatani-san. Based on your experience at Interpol and beyond, how have cybercriminal groups changed over time? In particular, how do you see the lines between states, crime, and the business today, if you can?
Okay. I try to do my best because I, retired from the law firm back to 2018. So it has a long time since I left the organization. But I think that's during my years at Interpol, now at NEC, I have witnessed a variety of the changes in terms of nature of the cybercrime. And then I must say that we are standing right now at a crucial inflection point in cybersecurity. So that actually challenge we face is now becoming more severe than ever before because of the AI. I believe so. Then, for instance, the AI-driven malicious actor are no longer hypothetical. It's a real. It's really struck me. And already AI identified the target databases, then actually exploit code was already created, and then network was already breached. So these AI-driven cyber attack actually occurred at the speed impossible for the human elite hacker to match. That is actually what we see in terms of reality. Perhaps I think, Eva, you can further elaborate on this point because of the services you provide. But I think that's, as a result, the vulnerability discovery can be accelerated, and then phishing can be automated. Eventually, cyber attack can be deployed, launched faster, more broadly, and with greater precision than ever before. It is going to change the entire, actually, background of cybercrime investigation. So from investigative perspective, the challenge law enforcement are facing is exponentially increasing. So most of the times, actually, technology can be first exploited by criminals, bad actors. They move very fast. The law enforcement and the criminal justice, it's quite slow. So criminals moving at the speed of network, but I think law enforcement are moving at the speed of ink. So that's really gap which we are seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is hard. So, yeah. Do you want to add something, Eva?
Yeah, I think I totally agree that AI is accelerating the hackers. And therefore, we've seen so many techniques. Like there's a group called Funk, SEC, that is also a attacker group. They're posting on the website, or I mean, the underground discussion group are all broken English. But when they start the attack, the phishing mail they send, the code they write, everything, perfect English. Perfect, no flaw. That means what? They're using AI as their ghostwriter. They're using AI as their outsourced developers. So it was just very hard to stop them anymore. And then there's another way of using AI. That was, let me think, the name is Dragon Force. Dragon Force, they take all of this information and help you automatically say, I want to target this person in this organization. Then they give you all the connection he has, or the events he attends, so you can target him so easily. So all of this technique and accelerating all the attack inside, I think it's just impossible. What I want to follow you to say is that it's impossible that we implement the old days of thinking that we do faster response, and then we try to get the response, detection and response. That's just not fast enough. We need to think about risk management. You need to proactively identify what is your company's risk point, and then put your detection and put your protection in the most important places, because it's just impossible for you to mitigate all the risk, right? So I think that is what I want to follow. We need to turn the reactive detection and response into proactive risk management.
Shinoda-san, one more thing which I would like to add. Actually, I would say that the most profound change I have seen is the broad boundary in the cyber underground. What does it mean? Actually, state-sponsored actors, organized crime groups are actually dangerously intertwined. It's not easy to say, oh, this is act by nation-state actor, that is act by the organized crime groups. It's very challenging. So actually, the boundary between the geopolitical cyber operations and the money-driven cyber crimes are really blurred. So what this means, actually, what happens in terms of the geopolitical tension on the other side of the world will impact, for instance, Tokyo as ransomware attack within hours or days. I think that is the impact on the corporations. So in the past, politics are different from the economy, but now geopolitics is factored in to the actual management of corporation. I think that is a huge change between 10 years ago and now. Yeah.
May I?
Yeah, yeah.
Because talking about
Yes.
this chain, talking about supply chain, cyber criminal and all of this attacker, they actually have their own supply chain. And I can give you an example of how they laundry the money. First, they use scam. They have very targeted, right? So they target it. And then the first wave of money driven is scam through the line group. So line group, Facebook, all of this. So they skim the first part of the money by scamming. And then since you are scammed, then they laundry your ID. They know your ID. And then they know which company you are in, right? So they use you, that's the scammer, use that ID to get into the organization and launch their ransomware and starting to steal all the company's most important assets, right? And when they launch the ransomware, they actually do threaten the company and get the first wave of money, but they already got the data, right? The information they want, and they sell to the state owners. So everything punched together. And talking about the detection and response, they usually use ransomware. And when your IT group, poor SOC operation people are so busy about that ransom attack, they take the chance to attack from the other side and steal all your information. That's how these horrible attacks
that's
link
true.
together.
Yeah. Because I'm quite sure that you're keen on the timekeeping, but I think, can I drill down a little bit in this one?
It's okay.
Because it's very important, because what we are seeing is that a very highly organized crime as a service ecosystem, right? So actually ransomware groups are not mere actually group of collectives. They function as supply chain. So there are the, let's say, initial access broker who sell the credentials, and then the malicious coders, they license actually encryption actually framework. And then negotiators who manage ransomware negotiation process, and then cryptocurrency laundering, actually the people. So they work together. So I think that's very challenging. And then they are not necessarily in the single country. Actually, they are in different countries most of the times, right?
By FBI's last year's report, actually they say the reported loss from all these cyber attacks, only in US, only 20 billion. More than 20 billion US dollar. And a lot of companies don't report they've been attacked, right? And think about it, Trend Micro, 38 years, our revenue still is just 2 billion. The attacker is 20 billion. It's not a fair game.
So actually modern cyber cartels actually, let's say, operate like multinational companies like Trend Micro and NEC with recruitment pipelines, research and development investment, and then education plan, and then profit models. So it's quite, resilient in terms of money making.
Thank you so much. Very insightful information, which isn't on the agenda. So, but I like that. Okay. So go back to the agenda a little bit. So Eva, I'd like to ask you a question. So even still in the current situation, the basic attacks can lead to major damages too. So do you have, what non-technical factors do these companies have in common? Like, yeah, some kind of, you see there's some kind of common things happening? And then also, if you can explain, have you seen cases where the initial response was done very well? What made it different?
Okay, first of all, I want to say classic attack is still the most popular one because it's the easiest one. The criminal group want to make money. They want to have easy life. That's why they were there, right? And that's why all this most easy way of attack, such as phishing, ransomware, or the ID theft, these are still most common, most easy way for them to get into the attack and get, sorry. I hope it's not an emergency call from my sorry. Sorry. So that is still the most common attack that will happen, right? And how do you deal with this for any organization? I would really call for the business people really need to work with the IT people. The IT people, I would say, they already do whatever they can do. They have like long list of what they need to do. They need to patch, they need to do this training, they need to do all of these things. But the business people need to really work with the IT people, tell them your priority in your business. What is most critical information? What is most critical operation that cannot go down so that they can prioritize? I think that part is not being done yet. Okay, and talking about what is well done response, frankly, I believe the well done response is they never have to respond to outside. You never saw them. Because when you already have a case that go out in the public, there's already a chaos, right? So the best response is, like I say, you need to proactive. Whenever there is an attack happen, if you have prepared your 4W, who, when, what, how, all those 4W you need to prepare. Means that you know when this was happened, what has been stolen, how are you going to do next, all of this prepared, then the response you give to everybody is very quickly. People say, okay, done. They will not continue to ask you all this. And in order to get those 4W ready, whenever there's a attack or an instance, is you need to have proactively prepare your risk management, the cyber exposure risk management scheme, and proactively knows all of this information so that you can have the best response.
Thank you for sharing that. Nakatani-san, yeah, regarding to, adding her in incident response, do you have something like, the typical companies do like a wait and see and hide, like Eva said, hide things, hide the issues.
Yeah.
So you want to add something?
I echo with the points that Eva mentioned. As you know, the cyber threat are not only technical threat, but institutional threat. So actually today, cyber attackers exploit the vulnerability in code, of course, but they also exploit the actually decision-making process as well, meaning that when the incident occurs, the hierarchy hesitates, meeting multiplies, and then the responsibility sharing become unclear. So it is called as paralysis of analysis or something like that. Actually, the fear of making a wrong decision actually eventually resulted in making no decision at all. So actually, in the digital age, the capability to make a decision to do it quickly, actually speed is a part of the cybersecurity capability. That's very important, I believe. So actually, the cyber attackers are trying to trying to take advantage of the human and the system vulnerabilities. So essentially, you need to protect both. I think that's very important. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So, Eva, if companies are to treat cybersecurity as a business risk, not just an IT issue, what's one thing executives can realistically change in the next 30 days in how they make decisions?
Right. I think I would say next day, tomorrow, the business people need to work with the IT group together. Treat them as part of your business decision-making people. Because nowadays, I think almost all the company, you are running your operation on digital platform, right? It's all running in the information system already. But the business people never really working with the IT people to identify what is your, we call it cybersecurity digital twin. What is your IT information flow look like in your company? And then identify that critical point. This is the server that really critical, and I need to put everything in here, right? So what can go down, what cannot go down? Those priorities need to be set by the business people. You cannot ask IT people, say, hey, you just need to secure everything 100%. Impossible. That is business people's responsibility that need to work with IT people. Identify the risk and then manage it proactively together.
So true, so true. Like this weekend, we had a LCO Tokyo session at your company, and then that theme was intelligence. But we talked about how important the decision-making process was organized before incident comes in, right? And each department has their own mission, so to make a decision, right?
Right. Hey, I just want to say, Kana-san and me, we are in women in cybersecurity. You know, before we were like very lonely people, but yet on Saturday now we have like more than 100 people.
Yeah,
and I was really glad to see so many ladies here. Why? Because, you know, it's true, scientifically, women are more risk aware and risk avoidant, right? Men, they are restless. So we need more women in cybersecurity.
Okay.
We have to collaborate together, okay? All right, thank you. Let's turn to incident coordination. So Nakatani-san, during major incidents, what aspects of working with law enforcement are most often misunderstood, and what should organizations prepare in advance?
Based on my experience, then the first 40 hours would be critical. That will decide the outcomes, I believe. And then there is a recurring patterns in terms of the cyber incident response. Actually, number one, the actually temptation to delay. Then number two, instinct to conceal. Number three, the hope that situation will stabilize on its own way. So actually, number one, let's say in this way, from the investigative perspective, cover up would lead to the greater damage in the worst case scenarios. So don't cover up, although temptation is there to conceal. The second is that, let's say in this way, cyber incidents have like a biological infection. So it does not heal, it does not resolve on its own way. It will evolve and it will compound. So you need to do something as soon as possible. And then I said the hope that situation will stabilize on its way. Actually, there is no such a hope. It's impossible. Actually, most organizations seems to have tendency to wait for more information before taking actions, or maybe actually notifying incident to the authorities. I would say that's not prudent, because that is going to give the adversaries time and advantage to exploit. So actually, until the time when the leadership feel comfortable to take actions, perhaps there may be no more actually evidence. Evidence may be erased, and then adversaries may have already penetrated into the core systems. So I think that is happening most of the times. Actually, the better, the faster. Yeah.
Better the faster.
Yeah,
That's the thing you want to leave the comments to the audience.
Yeah,
Okay.
so actually, let's say forensics is a kind of race. Forensic is kind of institutional race against the time to actually to preserve the evidence, and then to mitigate damage, and then to protect institutional credibility and reputation. Yeah.
And
Yeah, please.
I really liked your answer about this faster is better. You know, cyber attacks like this, it attacked not just the code vulnerability, it attacked the human and the organization vulnerability. And therefore, it's even more important, I think, each of the organization, or I should say, each of the country, you need to establish your own, fitting your own cultures operation. So for instance, the cybersecurity product, usually talking about those, Western way, is a chain of command. So they always elevate, right? But if you follow this chain of command way of doing in Japan, you take forever, right? So in Japan, we actually talking about our software we design. The first time you need to get the group meeting together, because it's the collaboration. You always call for the group, not by group, like the escalation. So really, what I want to say is that people are talking about sovereignty, AI sovereignty, and then without cybersecurity sovereignty, how can you have sovereignty? So you need to establish, every country need to establish the best cybersecurity operation that fits into their culture.
Thank you so much, Eva. That's a big, big statement over here. Thank you. Yeah. So now it's going to be the reality of public, private, and the international collaborations. So Nakatani-san, could you share examples where public, private, or international collaboration worked? What were the key factors behind that success? What made it work? So you want to show the slides now?
Yeah, maybe yes. Could you show the slide, please?
Excuse me, can you show the slide, please? Hello. Backstage.
Yes.
Yeah, here we go.
Well, I think it's a little bit small letters, but I hope that you are able to read. Actually, as you know, to confront increasingly sophisticated cyber threat, so effective international cooperation and the public-private partnership are indispensable. We know that. So how we are going to make it operationalized, so beyond the slogan, that's very important. This is one of the example. Actually, this is an initiative, operation initiated by Interpol. So from July 2025 and January 2026. Perhaps given the current geopolitical situation, that's maybe interesting for you. For instance, if you take a look at the number of law enforcement it said 72 countries law enforcement joined this actually exercise or initiative. It's a real operation which include you go down result 94 arrests in those countries. So if you take a look at the key cases, you see the Macau, China, Togo, Bangladesh. It's not advanced countries, but I think the countries where the criminals are hiding most of the times. And then they are the people who are most vulnerable of cyber crime. Then type of the crime is very simple. It's fraud. So Macau, fraudulent phishing, Togo, it's also the fraud ring involving social media, hacking, romance, scam, etc. Extortion also inclusive. And Bangladesh as well. And then in terms of the public-private partnership, actually which organizations were helping law enforcement toward this population? Then you will take a look at the section, the private sector partner, Group IB, Russian origin security corporation based in Singapore, and then Transmicro, here EVA is here, and S2W is South Korea cybersecurity companies. Again, if you take a look at the current geopolitical situation, Russia is there. Russian origin cybersecurity companies are there. So in order for law enforcement to fight against criminal gang as a modern cyber cartel, actually public, I would say law enforcement alone is not sufficient. It's because in actually, I would say actionable intelligence is more often than not produced by private companies, like those three companies. Actually, this is just one example. The other cybersecurity companies have been assisting Europol in the same or similar operations. So actually, law enforcement and then private companies are working together to fight against cyber criminals. So actually, in that category, no political dysfunctional. It just works because the criminals are common enemy for law enforcement. But again, if it comes to the more state-sponsored cyber attack, the story is different, which I just mentioned before. But it is not easy at the earliest timing of the cyber attack to tell which one is which. But in this case, fraud, most of the fraud cases are driven by the money-oriented cyber cartel. So that is why this kind of collaboration was possible. Maybe I think, Eva, you may want to join me to say something?
Just like, yes. Why Chen Micro, we are a public company, we need to make money, right? And why are we working with the government sector and all of this? It's not because we want to make more money. You know something very important? I told you, my engineer, if they want to turn into a hacker, they are excellent. And they can make much more money than what they made in train. So how do I keep them there? It's the pride. It's the proud that they want to be in the good side. They are the good-hearted engineer. They want to be in the good side. And that's why whenever we work, when we used to work with Interpol, we have our engineer working in Interpol offices. We Chen Micro paying it. Why? And we spend, like, we used to have some engineers, some of the takedown effort. We spend very high-pay research engineers' time, 4 years, helping FBI to take down the attacker. That is hurting our business, you know. But we do that because that's the best way for me to keep the talent. They feel they are on the right side. They want to be. That is the proud. So I'm very appreciate. Or for instance, just last month, Chen Micro has a Segi Buster anti-spam software, totally free, and all the police stations are advocating to all the citizens. Even the prime minister are talking about that, right? So that is the proud, that our engineer feel like I am helping the good side, and that keep their continue to work in cybersecurity. So I think that type of work is really appreciate government to understand that we are not trying to make money or take advantage of the government. It's just that proud we need to keep for our engineers.
Thank you so much, Eva. 中田さん大丈夫ですかね。はい。Yep. Thank you. That was very insightful, and then thank you so much for sharing your experience and opinions. And we are almost out of time, unfortunately. So let me ask one final question. In one sentence, what is the most important things leaders should take away from today's discussion? Anything is fine. Who wants to go first?
Well, okay. I would say that cybersecurity is not just about the defending systems networks. The cybersecurity is about the controlling dependencies related to ecosystem, or let's say a long value chain, supply chain. I think that's very important.
And I want to say, I know there's a lot of startups here, right? And you are the innovation power. So, but don't treat cybersecurity as like a boundary or like an obstacle for you. Actually, you know, we are like the brakes in the car. The brakes in the car is not just for safety, it's enable you to run faster. It's very important to think about cybersecurity before you go in there. And for every leadership, you need to think as cybersecurity is, I call it the bridge over troubled waters. It's bridging you from your existing organization to move forward and going through that. So that's the song. I like you to remember, be the bridge over troubled water and get everybody onto the innovative next era.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is this is all for our sessions. Thank you so much, Eva Nakatani-san, and thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another big round of applause to our speakers. Thank you so much. And now please proceed to the connective space for networking. Thank you.